So hi, everyone. I'm Kim Bilodeau. I'm the Director of Career Services at UL Lafayette. We want to welcome you to the New Orleans Saints and New Orleans Pelicans Careers in Sports Seminar. As some of you may know, UL Lafayette is the official higher education partner of the New Orleans Saints and the New Orleans Pelicans. As part of this partnership, we are bringing this unique student career experience to you today. We're excited to have so many students join us. We're very grateful to the staff from the New Orleans Saints and Pelicans who are taking time out of their day to be with us. Throughout the afternoon, they will share their expertise. They will share their thoughts. They will give our students guidance on applying for a career in sports. As part of the partnership, we are so excited to announce today the creation of a mentorship program. This opportunity will be awarded to students from UL Lafayette and will provide an opportunity to learn from a Saints and Pelicans staff member in a one-on-one setting. Participants will be paired with the Saints or Pelicans staff closely associated within their field of study. The goal of this program is to help students build industry relationships and prepare for a career in sports. This mentorship program will run the entirety of the spring 2021 semester, and if chosen, students should plan to dedicate an hour a week to the program. Lucky you, students attending the session today will have the first chance to apply. The applications are open now, and the deadline to apply is November 20th. We will email all of the attendees the link which contains qualifications and the application instructions so that you can go ahead and get your application in. We encourage you to apply early, so please don't wait to apply. So we will go ahead and get started. At this time, I have the pleasure of introducing our first speaker, Mr. Pat McKinney. Pat McKinney is the Vice President of Human Resources with the New Orleans Saints and Pelicans. Mr. McKinney, thank you so much for joining us today. I will go ahead and turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you again, Kim, for the introduction. And it's such a pleasure to be in front of the students today. This is something that is very important to the Saints and Pelicans as we do outreaches to our future. And it's very important that we become involved in your development and help you understand career-wise how to get where you want to go. And that's always the key. And that's things that you don't necessarily always learn in school. You learn that from the mentors and the people that you kind of pass along the way. So one of the things that I want to talk to you briefly about is, what do you do during the pandemic? How do you get your career on track? What are some of the ideas that maybe that you can do now to prepare yourself? Because as you know, the Saints and Pelicans right now, I was sharing with Kim and the group that we're mostly virtual. Everybody's working from home, except for a very small group that is involved with the Saints right now. And the Saints are restricted and under tight quarantine, if you will. At the practice facility. As an example, I work from my home in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm directing the human resources for all of the Saints, Pelicans, as well as Dixie Beer and the auto dealerships. So anything that Mrs. Benson has, I'm controlling it. I'm controlling it out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I've had to learn new skill sets, if you will. So that's kind of how I'm going to start out with you is, one of the things that I'm going to give you 7 ideas, if you will, things to do during the pandemic and from now until May, because we're going to be out of this by May, right? So the first thing is what I call become a skill master. One of the things that the pandemic and all the changes that's occurred because of it, employers have had to find themselves to be very adaptive. And they also have to be innovative on how do they continue to do business and operate. And so one of the things that it really, even before the pandemic, but the pandemic brought upon us was the need for people who were innovative and really embraced new technology. So you can imagine an old guy like me trying to figure out how to use, Zoom and how to use, all of these other technologies. And quite honestly, I am not a social media guy, but that's partly, and I'll talk about that later, that's partly really human resources because I don't really want to know what other people are doing, right? But again, I think that it's really important that you hone in on what your interests are and you hone those skills. You really set forth, those things that really interest you and you delve into them. And being in school right now is a great place to do that. And while you're doing that, then the next thing that you really should be doing is developing your marketing playbook. I can't tell you enough how important it is. You are your own marketer. And that is really how you put yourself out in front of employers and how you make employers feel like they can't do without you. So there's a couple things that you do in doing that. And one of the things is building a resume. And your resume is really your advertisement. I mean, that is really is the picture of who you are. And it's got to be concise, and it's got to be something that bear in mind, someone like me, if I post a job out for an accountant for the Saints, I'll guarantee you I'll get at least 1,000 applications within the first 2 days. And it's almost impossible for somebody to go through 1,000 applications and give them the time to try to figure out who they are. So what we're looking at is a resume. So that's where you really need to show what skills you've mastered and really highlight where you want to go and what you want to do. So that's a really important part of your advertisement. But also then in that advertisement, in your marketing plan, you should have in there a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is tricky. And I will tell you, LinkedIn is more to make contacts, but you have to be careful about how you make contacts because, again, someone like me, if you just simply out of the blue, send me a message, you gotta give me a reason of why I want to link to you, because otherwise I'll lose time. And so one of the things I think that works really well, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, is how you connect to a mentor, or how you set up virtual interviews that are not really interviews, but are fact finding. So maybe you want to approach me on LinkedIn about, hey, I'm really interested in this, and this. Would you have a few moments to talk to me, either via email or video? Those are real good ways to use LinkedIn instead of just linking to somebody. You just send something that, hey, I want to be part of your network. You're really not networking if you're not using the strength of LinkedIn of researching, if you will. And not only LinkedIn, but then you use the social media side. And social media it can be a big win if you use it appropriately. And so that's my idea. Number 3 goes into that is clean up your social media accounts. Because I will tell you that the first thing that I do, and most human resource and most hiring managers do, is when they find a resume they like, they're going to go to social media, and we're going to look and we're going to see how you're presenting yourself. And that's part of your marketing playbook. Because quite honestly, if you want to be kind of crazy on social media, do it privately. Have yourself a public social media page that puts you out there and is really career driven, if that's what you're focused, and then do your fun stuff privately. I will tell you, as a human resource guy, I've seen social media get so many people in trouble and really destroy their careers before they get started. And a lot of things can be misread on social media. So, and Courtney will tell you, she's new to our organization, but she knows one of the things that we're really big about is we love people on social media, but we also love for you to to behave yourself on social media. And, because once you're part of a company, then you can become a spokesperson for that company arbitrarily, because once you're branded, then that brand becomes something that is part of you. So if I have a social media and I'm out there and I've said I'm the vice president of human resources, but then I start giving my opinion about things that are contrary maybe to what the organization would want me to say, then it becomes a little bit of a problem. So just remember, social media can be very powerful, but it can also derail you. So that was number 3. So number 4, practice virtual interviews. That's the fact of the matter right now is virtual interviews, but also we almost do 100% of our interviews, especially our initial interviews, virtually. Even before pandemic, we've always done virtual interviews. One of the things that's really important, and today I'm sitting here in a Saints jacket and stuff, but normally if I'm in the office, I'm in a suit and tie. So it's really important that you know your audience, who you're talking to. Always overdress the part when you're interviewing. You want to, again, that's part of your marketing playbook. You need to know, does that organization, how do they present themselves? And you want to go one step above that. So also on interviews, on virtual interviews, make sure that you're on time, all of those things, and you don't have anything going on behind you that's distracting. You see today, I put behind me the Saints logos and stuff. Again, that's branding the Saints, but it also, instead of you seeing all the pictures of my family or whoever I have hanging on the wall at my home, it presents a more professional look, and it allows you to concentrate on the person and not what's going on behind them, right? So think of all those things while you're doing that. The other thing that I talked briefly about is connecting to mentors. That's a really, really important, especially in sports. Sports is probably one of the hardest industries to get your foot in because there are so many people that are competing for those small number of jobs. What some of the misconceptions is with sports teams are that we're huge organizations, and that could be further from the truth. We run very lean. The Saints and Pelicans combined, Saints and Pelicans, their business office is less than 200 people full time. And the vast majority of our workforce are part-time people that are doing our game day presentations or working just games or different things like that. I will tell you, one of the best ways to come up in the organization is through those type of programs. If you can get your feet into doing the game night presentations or that type of stuff. But the other piece is finding your mentors, and that's real important. Especially, unfortunately, every year we offer a large number of associate opportunities that last for a year with us. And this year that just unfortunately just can't happen because we can't have people in the offices, and and so we're missing out that opportunity. However, those opportunities still can exist, and this mentorship program that we talked about at the very beginning is kind of an overture, if you will, of how to get in and make some contacts. There's a lot of people, and again, using your LinkedIn, that you can contact and start talking to be able to get into what you want to do in sports. And trust me, there's everything is possible in sports. One of the hardest things to do in sports is to get into football operations or basketball operations. Those are pretty difficult to maneuver yourself into without having mentors as coaches and trainers and that type of stuff. That really is where you get that. But otherwise, if you know you want to be in accounting, you know you want to go into sports, or you want to be in sales, you want to be in sports, start looking at those different teams' pages. Use your resources. There's groups out there. I think we're going to be launching out in the near future some opportunities to do similar to this to all area schools, that they'll be able to come in and do virtual conversations with different leaders of the company. So pay attention to those. Follow team social pages. They're really important. That way you kind of know what's going on. You know, there might be an opportunity to meet some of the executives somewhere, whether it's online right now, but in the future, sometimes we'll do meet and greets prior to a game, those type of things. So those are all ways to gather your mentors. But also in school right now, take those opportunities to meet within those departments that will help you kind of feel out what it is you want to do, because that's the other real important part of the mentorship, is helping you decide what your career path's going to be. Because the longer you wait on that, the more difficult it'll be to maneuver through that. The sixth thing I'll tell you is don't panic. During this time, it's crazy, but companies are still moving ahead. Teams are still having to plan for the future. You know, we've been very lucky in that we're one of the few sports teams that have not downsized its workforce. You know, if anything, we've been hiring. And, you know, we continue to move forward. We're looking to the day that we'll be back with full crowds in stadiums and everything. And we know that that day's going to happen. We're not giving up on that. But we also know we're going to need people in the future that are going to be able to fill those slots. So don't panic, and go back and really build on your own self, your own ideas, your own careers, and, you know, and continue to build your resume. The last thing that really right now is probably the biggest resume builder for this time is volunteering. And that volunteering can be everything from tomorrow, volunteering at the elections, you know, putting your times in on those and being involved, and, you know, volunteering at maybe at a hospital or something, just getting the volunteer stuff to show, number one, you're socially aware, you're socially active, and that you're really interested in making a difference. You know, what are hiring managers looking for? You know, in today's world, it's interesting, and especially, again, this has been some really crazy times, but I can tell you that employers are really now interested more in employees that, like I said before, are innovative, high on new technology, but also are socially aware. I know for our business, we really have put the emphasis on diversity and inclusion and understanding all of those things. And we really want our employees to be involved and to be part of the solution in the future. So whatever opportunities you have to volunteer and to move that needle forward, that's what will shine on your resume. And remember, all those things build your resume. And really quick, let's go back and talk quick about a resume, because that's one of the things people always ask me, how do you get noticed? Always submit a cover letter. Always tell your interest in a position, why you would be a great fit for that. And you should then, in your marketing playbook, you should have lined out a couple opportunities that you took to demonstrate that. So whether it was a volunteer, whether it was through a mentor, or some program that you're involved in. And those all mesh into your resume. And the first line on your resume should be what I call your synopsis, who you are. Because you're coming out of school, you don't really have any career experience. And so I want to know what it is that you're bringing to the table, and what are those special things that you have. that makes you different than anybody else. So that's where you list those things that you've done in school, and those should be your first thing. Is it's kind of your qualifications, but you really haven't developed those strong qualifications unless you've done some skill mastering. But you also then can relate in, and then your next thing on the resume should be your education, and then you go into your career. And it's funny because these things flip as you grow in your career, but you have to market yourself up front, because when I look at a resume, you have about 10 seconds to jump out at me. And the first thing, and so at the very top of the resume, that's where my eyes are going to go, and I'm going to look to see who you are. And that's going to tell me more. Those descriptive values there that you put in will tell me more about you, and will make me want to look a little further. But those are what set you aside, as well as the cover letter. So I'm going to stop there and see if you guys have any questions or anything. And that depends on the position and everything. But again, I will tell you the vast majority of our managers who go through our resumes and stuff, they, especially for entry-level associate positions, they look at that very top and how you're connecting and what they're looking to hire. So for instance, if I'm looking to hire a graphics associate in sports, then I want to see that you've done something, maybe a volunteer project at your school, of some kind of graphic skill set there. Again, that in how involved you were in school. Did you just kind of go through school, or were you involved in it? Did you become a change maker? And those are the things that we're looking for at the very, that sets you apart from somebody that just sends me a resume. And I will tell you, all the little cutesy things that people put on their resume, don't do it. Don't put your picture, don't do all that. Be very straightforward, be very clean, be very organized, and make sure that you've spell checked it. Because I will tell you, the first thing that will throw you out is if there's misspelling or there's anything like that, because again, that tells me you're not somebody that has attention to detail. So I'm looking for, number one, a well laid out resume, but also something that tells me about you. Don't be afraid, because again, you're marketing yourself. Think about what all those brands out there, or what the Saints and Pelicans do when they market themselves. They're really telling you why you should come to a game, why you should do those things. So again, tell me why I should hire you, why I should consider talking to you. Because really what you want to do is make it to where I want to pick up the phone and at least have a conversation with you. And that's usually by highlighting those things. And it also means every time you apply for a job, that resume may be different. One resume does not fit all. One size does not fit all with a resume. You have to be flexible to be able to manipulate your resume for the position that you want. I will tell you, I have seen so many times somebody apply for a job with the New Orleans Saints, and the resume or cover letter is directed to the Carolina Panthers or to the Atlanta Falcons. Do you think I'm going to talk to somebody that didn't take the time to even personalize it to me? So again, it's about detail. It's about all those little things that set you apart. That's a great question. And I will tell you, anything over one page is wasted. Now, if you have a very long career, you might go to 2 pages, but there's certain things that people tend to put on a resume that's not necessary. References, don't bother. Because if I want references, I'm going to ask you for references. When you're describing a job, so you actually, they say bullet points. You may be able to do it in a sentence. You may be able to do it. What happens is so many times we concentrate on saying what that job was. well, if you're let's say you're an accountant, I know what accountant does. So I don't need all those bullet points. Now, what I do need is, while I held that job, I saved the company this much money by instituting a new accounting program, or I did this, or I did that. So it really is a brag, if you will. And don't be afraid to brag on yourself. You are selling yourself, okay? So it's important, that you condense it as much as possible, because remember, it it comes in, we're looking at it quickly, and a lot of times, a lot of companies use software programs that go through and will look at a resume and pick out keywords. We don't do that. We're antiquated. We actually use our eyes. Um, but again, it's real important that you keep it brief, but you keep it concise. Again, bullet at the very beginning, like what I say, what I call your sales points up front, is maybe about 4 bullet points that really highlight and that are linked back to the position you're applying for. And then you go into really briefly education, and then into your jobs. Now, like for me, I've been in the workforce for 40 something years. I could still probably do a 1-page resume, because I can condense down those positions that I've held in a really concise method. But also, I'm not going to list companies that I worked for 20 years ago. It's really about more what you're doing right now, and that should always be, because sometimes we overload people on resumes. That's the great thing about LinkedIn, is that you can really put a lot of information out there about you, and that can be a extension of your resume. And that's what a lot of people have used that for. And also because a lot of employers now are using LinkedIn. We use LinkedIn as we use their recruiter, and we post jobs on LinkedIn, and we also then search for people on LinkedIn, based on the keywords and stuff there. So if you're putting a robust information about yourself out there, it certainly helps in job searches and stuff. And again, remember, when you're applying for a job, it really is, you're responding with as minimal information as possible to get a phone call, because and so you can do additional add-ons, like you can have your LinkedIn profile and say for further information, look at my LinkedIn. And you use all those things, and you may have a video somewhere on LinkedIn or on YouTube, and you may have an elevator speech. If you're applying for a sales job, then you may have a link on your resume to YouTube for an elevator speech that I can go to. That sets you apart. And especially if you're applying for a sales position, I'm going to go look at that, because you took an extra step that other people didn't take. So there's little tricks and stuff but again, that's your marketing playbook. How do you sell yourself? So we don't. The honest answer to that is we don't post any basketball ops or football ops jobs. Those are really hired over in those areas, and they're usually hired based on who I know from colleges and other things. So those are really work your way up jobs. Now, there are some folks that will go through volunteering. Like we have one guy on our staff that he started as a ball boy years ago, and right now he is our assistant equipment manager, and he worked his way up. That doesn't happen very often. And also what you have to understand, so when you're working in football and basketball, those positions will turn over if you have a turnover with coaching staffs, or with with the general manager or something. So when those hierarchies change, we jettison a lot of people. We've done that on the Pelican side a couple times over the last couple of years, getting ready to do it again. Now we're bringing in Stan Van Gundy, and I can tell you, I'm already writing new contracts, for different people that will be coming in. And again, they tend to bring the people that they've had at other teams or that they've had up through college. I have a very, very close friend that is an athletic trainer at a high school in Texas. And I've mentored him through the process of his goal is to be athletic trainer in the NBA. And it really has been mentoring him to introduce him to some people he's over in Austin, Texas. So I've got him introduced to a couple people at the Spurs and, some of that. So again, it's about introductions. It doesn't always work out, but it also, you'll find out that there's education, there's ways to go through other things. So, my best advice, if that's what you want to do, you need to connect in with your sports at your university level, start meeting people through there, get connections on there, and keep building up from that. It is about who you know on that side, unfortunately. Sometimes it's not necessarily talent. It really is who you know. But again, not to try to slap you down and say don't do it, because there's always that breakthrough, but you have to be willing to really get in and do some of the volunteers, some of the heavy lifting, and work for a little bit of nothing for a long time to get there. We've got a great inside sales program. I will tell you that the Pelican Saints, we have probably one of the premier inside sales programs in sports. We have an outstanding inside sales manager. She's incredible, as well as these groups. And so we bring in classes of people, usually in January and in June of every year. And actually that's one of the positions that we have still been hiring during the pandemic, because we can train that remotely. And it is an extensive training program that we do. So those positions are always listed on our website. So you watch that. I'm trying to remember, do we have an inside sales? I don't think we have it open right now, but we will be having it open, as well as that's one of the ones that's going to be doing some of the outreaches. So she should be reaching out to you guys at UL also to kind of tell you what's coming down the pike with that. But that program, I will tell you, we've been successful with that to the point that I can name about 10 people that are with Philadelphia 76ers, with the Cleveland Cavaliers, the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics. We've got probably just about every team around. A lot of them go back up east. We get a lot of kids come down from the East Coast, but really successful people that have come out of that program. And I'll tell you, we try to hold on to those. We don't always have open slots. And so we make sure that we give you the help in finding your next position. That's the other really nice thing about this program, is you're working with a lot of salespeople, ticket salespeople, especially that have connections at other teams, and they will help you. If you're really a good seller, you're going to go far in that. So great question. Thank you. See, that's me marketing. There you go. So it was a matter of luck. Never in my life did I ever think about being in sports. I came from oil and gas industry, got tired of it, and it just so happened that the Hornets had left the city, for Katrina, and went to Oklahoma City. When they came back, they needed an HR person, and a friend of mine had been hired as the CFO of the Hornets, and he called me up and said, any chance you would want to go into sports? And I started laughing and thought it was kind of ridiculous because I just didn't ever think that that was. And I went and talked to him, and I tell you, best decision I ever made. It's been fun. It never is the same thing. I will tell you, it's not all the glamour that you think it is, right, Courtney? Uh, we You deal so much in sports and you see so much behind the scenes that sometimes it spoils the thrill of the sports for you a little bit. It was interesting yesterday watching the Saints game. You know so many of the players, you know so many of the coaches, so you're busy watching to make sure the coach has his mask on and he's not going to cause the team to have to pay a $250,000 fine. So you miss some of the good plays because you're worried about everything else going on. But then I got lucky when Mr. Benson purchased the Hornets in 2012. It gave me the opportunity to join the Saints, which just has been a tremendous opportunity for me. And it's also allowed me to launch some initiatives at those teams that when I leave there will be a lasting legacy. The diversity and inclusion, we've been very strong on that, developing a lot of different hires. This program has been really important for us. One of the things when I took over for the teams, honestly, sports teams tended to hire friends of friends, and a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to come into sports. Resumes would be back pocket resumes, and we've changed all that. We've put in a very strong recruiting system and have taught people the importance of hiring different viewpoints and not everybody else's kids that already work there. So that's been a really important shift and something that I'm very proud of, and we'll leave the sports. And so, if it's your dream, pursue it, because trust me, it's a blast. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You give up a lot. There's not much work-life balance at times, especially when the seasons are going full blast. Even human resources, we end up running the kids' rooms and everything else. But it's fun. Thank you for having me. Bye, Kim.
Thank you, Pat. We
Thank you
appreciate
all.
it.
Bye.
Bye.
We will jump into our panelists. Kind of everybody has a little bit different story and title. So really want to start as they are recently graduated employees. We have Max, Larry, and Megan. We also have been graciously, Felicia has joined in today too, and she is our manager of inside sales. So when we were talking about kind of getting into that sales position, she is that person that has that power, and what Pat was talking about of having an awesome program, all thanks to Felicia. So really want to start off, Felicia, if you have anything, please jump in. We want to hear from you as well. But as for Max, Larry, and Megan, to start off, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, maybe year you've graduated, your current position, and what college you graduated from.
Courtney, can I step in for a quick second?
Please.
So Pat mentioned that, we are one of the only crew that has been hiring. I have Megan and Larry here. I'm sure Max is gonna be awesome. I've already talked to one of you, Tristan, good to see you. But listen, I'm hiring, and I'm hoping that some of you will add me on LinkedIn. And one of the easiest ways for me to recognize who you are is to see your faces. So if you guys can show your faces, I would love that. I'm a big face person, so I can just see what you look like, and then I can associate that with LinkedIn. Tristan, I already see you. I appreciate you doing that and reaching out to me. And I'm hoping that I can see some faces so we can get started. Appreciate it, Courtney.
Yes, thank you. Megan, do you want to start off?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be able to talk to all of you guys. But I'm Megan McClintock. I graduated in May from the University of South Carolina. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and now I'm an inside sales consultant under Felicia, who is awesome. And she does love when you have your cameras on and ask questions. So ask questions and have your cameras on.
Megan, what did you say what college you graduated from? I apologize if I missed that.
Yeah, no, University
So
of South
sorry.
Carolina.
Okay, got it. Larry, what's up?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Larry Staub. Just graduated in May of this year from Mercyhurst University. It's kind of like a small school in Erie, Pennsylvania, so kind of a long way from home. Grew up in the Northeast from Rochester, New York originally. Went to Mercyhurst, did a double major with sport management and then marketing. Came down here in July, now part of the inside sales team with the Saints and the Pelicans. And it's been really a dream come true. I've always wanted to work in sports since I was like a young kid. So definitely happy to be here, and look forward to helping you guys out.
All right, I guess I'm up. What's going on, guys? My name is Max. I'm originally from Houston. I went to a small school in Central Texas to play baseball. It's called Mary Hardin Baylor. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. And then I did graduated there in 2018, and then I did my grad degree at Sam Houston State in sport management, and then graduated last December. And then now I work for the Pels, doing game ops and game presentation, marketing, stuff like that. So excited to be here with you guys and answer some questions, hopefully.
Great. Well, you kind of touched, Max, we'll start off, kind of touched on your route, kind of some things you were involved with. Was there any kind of volunteer? Pat touched on really getting involved in volunteering, internships. Can you kind of start off and explain maybe a few things that you had your hands in?
Yeah, so I guess I could start when I did my undergrad. I had a internship with the University of Texas football program. I worked in operations for them one summer, and then just through mutual connections. And then when I got done, graduated and went to grad school, actually, interesting enough, worked in oil and gas to help pay for school. And then once I got done doing that, I had to do my practical experience for Sam Houston. And so I actually ended up getting the job with the Pels. It was actually part-time with the game night staff. But yeah, I'd say volunteering, it's definitely an important way to get involved. Not something that I did a whole lot, but I was lucky enough to, get some good positions and really cool people. But I would say volunteering is definitely important. It helps you meet people, make an impression, show people you work hard. But yeah.
Great, thank you. Larry, was there anything, volunteer internships to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, definitely. I think, people always say experience is one of the most important things, and definitely holds a lot of water there. Like I said, I'm from Rochester, New York, so I got involved with our minor league baseball team there. I was the on-field MC, so definitely had a lot of fun doing that in the summer. Kind of learned a lot even in minor leagues. And I said I'm from Erie, where I went to school, so they have an NBA G League team there. So the Erie Bayhawks, I kind of did a shadowing internship with their sales department. So kind of looked a little bit into sales then, but definitely, they always say it's not what you know, but who you know. Definitely holds a lot of truth in this industry. And, I always take it one step further and say, not, what you know, who you know, but kind of who knows you. So definitely a lot of networking, stuff like this is actually how I was able to meet Felicia, and then came down here for an interview last December. So kind of, the more hands you shake, the more people that, kind of know you, it's definitely going to help you a lot. And, gaining experience throughout internships is super, super important.
Great, yeah. I want to touch on networking in a bit, but Megan, is there anything you want to add to your experience?
Absolutely. So I actually, after my sophomore year of college, I interned with the Los Angeles Sparks as actually in game ops, and I really enjoyed it. And at that point, I knew I wanted to go into sports, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And then I think my advice is just when you have those internships or those volunteer opportunities, go outside of your comfort zone, do things that you're not asked to do, go above and beyond. Make sure people don't have to ask you, you just do things. That, I think that helped me. And then I think networking as well is equally as important. I actually met Felicia through, her name is Shanika. She is our VP of production here with the Saints and Pelicans. And I had applied for a job on teamwork with her. And I kind of like formed this relationship with her. And unfortunately, she wasn't hiring at that moment for my graduation date. But I kept in touch with her. And I actually, once I applied for the inside sales job, reached out to her and she helped me get in touch with Felicia. So again, like Larry, it's definitely who knows you.
For sure. So is there any kind of, we can move to that networking. You know, we've kind of talked about the LinkedIn, the applying for a job, and maybe it's going a different route. Is there any other networking tips, maybe virtually, especially right now, that you'd like to share? We'll start with Larry.
Yeah, for sure. I think conferences help me a lot. You know, just the more people that you can shake hands with and, you know, be in front of, especially, I'm not sure if you guys have opportunities to do different like events or not only career fairs, but more hands-on like conferences where, you know, I was able to do a couple different like marketing pitches where we would go and do different like events like that. So that definitely helped me a lot, kind of like presenting projects and stuff in more of like a hands-on style. Kind of see people, you know, people can see what you can do, you know, past your resume and actually, you know, what you can bring to the table for a job. So definitely just any way you can get involved.
For sure. For sure. Max, anything kind of haven't touched on networking yet? Was there a best practice maybe that you've tried getting into the sports world?
Yeah, kind of similar to Larry. I would say, you know, it's all about who you know and who knows you and, you know, kind of how you work. I would say in my experience, it was definitely based on, you know, the people I worked with. And then once I moved on, just staying in touch with them and, you know, saying, hey, keep me in mind for anything that's coming up, or, you know, do you know this person? Yeah, I would just say networking is very important. It's also, you know, the relationships and doing a good job of, you know, fostering those relationships and, you know, staying in touch with those people. But I would say in my experience, my, you know, relationships and connections were largely based on undergrad and grad school professors. Just kind of stayed in touch with them and said, hey, do you know someone here? None of my professors knew anybody in New Orleans, but luckily it worked out for me. But yeah, I would just say staying in touch with people that help you and, you know, staying in touch with them, and not only a working relationship, but a personal relationship is just as important.
Great. So you've gotten the job. You all have kind of been here for a little bit. But now in this navigation of this new world, do you have any advice? You know, now that you're here, you're working remotely. Megan, do you have kind of any advice how to excel, how you're doing well? Maybe even an embarrassing story that you maybe overcame a bit.
Definitely. It's definitely, it's a very weird time, I think, for everybody. It's definitely different. I didn't imagine my first job out of college I'd be sitting on my couch all day working. But, you know, it is what it is. And I think in this current climate, fostering relationships, like Max said, especially just not even professional, just personal relationships with people in the industry is really important. Make yourself known, especially if you're doing Zooms or WebExes or whatever. Make sure you ask questions, make sure you're engaged, make sure your cameras are on. And again, don't be afraid to reach out to people, especially people have a lot of time on their hands right now and people want to help. So I think that's how it's really good to excel and stand out, is just be engaged. Don't let being at home, you know, kind of let you get lazy, and reach out to people because people do want to help.
For sure. Larry, would you say kind of during these times, has anything, your day-to-day job, has there been a challenge at all that you've kind of had to come to overcome during this time?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, it's definitely a challenging time for everyone. And I think once you kind of accept that kind of everyone's in the same boat, it's kind of like, what are you going to do about it? You know, not one to, you know, complain or do anything like that. And I think it's kind of easy to, you know, kind of fall into like a poor mental state or anything like that. So I think every day just waking up, having a super positive attitude and just trying to seize the day in any way you can. Also being really open to new experiences and kind of taking it one day at a time almost. Kind of a little personal story. Like I said, from Rochester, New York, so definitely a long way from home. Family a little apprehensive about me moving 1,800 miles away in the middle of a pandemic. So that was a hard conversation I had. And at the end of the day, I kind of was able to convince my family that, you know what, like something I wanted to do my entire life. And, at the end of the day, I got to do what's right for me. So definitely being open to new experiences, kind of betting on yourself and staying positive. I think that'll help you not only now, but really throughout your whole life.
Yeah, how is, I know most of our, I would say a lot of our office is kind of from all over the place. Larry, how does that conversation, making that, did you say maybe as a freshman or sophomore in college, knowing, hey, I might have to move for a job? Was that something you had a conversation early on in your career?
Yeah, definitely. I kind of grew up a big Bills fan, so I always had in the back of my mind, like, oh, Felicia doesn't like that. So I was like, maybe go to Buffalo. Got a lot of friends in Buffalo, not super far. And then, kind of just the more people you meet, the more you realize that, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And, I came down here for my interview with my mom in December of last year. And I was like, really? You want to move to New Orleans? And kind of the more people you told that to, you kind of became like more confident in the decision. And then, at the end of the day, I was like, this is the best opportunity for me. Felicia is awesome. And how great would it be to work for that organization? So, I guess being comfortable with being uncomfortable is definitely something that you kind of get a little more used to. And people I always said I always want to work in the NFL. And I was 10 years old saying that. And I remember my grandpa being like, well, get ready to move because Rochester doesn't have a NFL team. So
you were prepared for it. Good. Well, a question just came in from Madeline Williams. If you could give your younger self one tip about graduating, finding a job, what would you say? So that kind of touched on that. But Max, if you want to start on that question.
Some advice I'd give myself. I would say, my kind of goal after undergrad was, go right to post-grad and, get my master's degree. I think if I could go back, I would come out and work in sports after undergrad and kind of decide, okay, what do I like? What do I dislike? And try and decide, what specific things that I enjoy. And then go back to grad school. My advice would be to don't go to grad school just to go and get a master's degree. Cause that's really where, like I said, you form, your opinion on what you like and what you dislike, and you get a lot of practical experience. There's a lot less, book work, I guess I could say, more practical work. We did work with the Rockets and the Texans when I was in grad school, which was really cool. And so, I enjoyed that time. I think if I could go back, I would kind of hone in more what I enjoyed more. But it worked out for me because, game ops is a good area and I like doing it. So.
Very good. Megan, anything you'd want to tell your younger self?
Yeah, don't be afraid of rejection. It sucks getting a lot of no's. Obviously, it's not fun, but it is part of the process. And, having those multiple interviews, even if they don't lead to anything, it's really good experience. And that one yes will come along. It will happen. You just have to give yourself time. And like Larry said, just bet on yourself, know your skills, know what you're good at, and just be yourself. And again, I know the process of finding a job, especially in this climate, is challenging, and that doesn't go unnoticed, but don't be afraid of rejection. Everything will happen as it's supposed to.
I second that. Alrighty, so another question from Tristan. This is a question for our inside sales, so Megan and Larry. How have you all adjusting in the pandemic? Are tickets being sold? How are inside sales program going this year? Overall question, Larry, if you want to take a stab at that.
Yeah, so I think definitely that was something that, I'm wondering myself, moving so far away, starting a brand new job. And I think someone asked, how much sales experience was required. And, I think you kind of realize as you kind of do it that you know a lot more than you think. At the end of the day, you're just kind of talking to people and, seeing if they want to come out to games. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, people, you'd be surprised. I think Felicia told us super early on that, we were one of the only teams that we never stopped selling. And that obviously changed here and there about like your strategy to do so. But you'd be surprised. People are still excited about sports, excited about the NBA, the NFL. And, you kind of give something for people to look forward to past the pandemic, have something exciting to talk about. A couple months from now, how awesome would it be to, have something to look forward to with your son or your family going out to games. So, you'd be surprised. People are buying right now, and especially with the teams, a lot of excitement behind them as well. So kind of been something to be able to lean into.
For sure. Megan, yes. Do you have any notes?
Yeah, most definitely. So tickets are still being sold. And I mean, honestly, sometimes, most of the time, I just kind of lean into it. I'm like, I know there's a pandemic. Like, there's no beating around the bush. Like, everyone knows what's going on. So it's just trying to make sure that people know the NBA and the NFL will be taking, full health and safety precautions. And, when this is all over, we want to get back to normal. We want to have sports. And I do think on, our Pell side, we're very, very lucky about the current team that we have with Brandon Ingram and Zion, and especially Van Gundy coming in. So I think honing into actual things that we do have, having Zion, having a new great coach, having David Griffin as our EVP of Ops, honing into those things is how I think I've really been selling and trying to just let people know, like, hey, we're working towards a championship here. Don't you want to be, those few people that get to come back and see games when this is all over? And don't you want to be a part of those season ticket holders that were there when we were building this championship team? So, I mean, it's very challenging. There's no, of course, it's very challenging. I'm not saying it's easy at all, but I think just knowing, the program where we have, and just being honest with people is really what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I will say, we make it seem like it's great and stuff, and it is. But for the amount of people that you do talk to that are interested, there's equally maybe more that, just lost a job, or, everyone's kind of struggling right now. So definitely just being transparent with people. And, maybe it makes sense to reach out in a couple months when things are a little better for them personally. But the interest is still there. And it's just about finding the right people that are buyers now. Post maybe in a couple months, you can check back in. But it's definitely, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Felicia, not to put you on the spot, but any closing notes on that kind of overall inside sales question?
Yeah, absolutely. The reason why Megan and Larry are here is because they're two of our top sellers in inside sales. I wouldn't, they're great examples for positive attitude, continuing to sell even when all of this is going on. And, for the answer or the question about do you need sales experience, I'm just going to answer it flat out no. But what you do need is desire, and you have to have a passion for wanting to be in sports and work in sales. If you have those things, then you'll do well. I'm just looking for people who are positive. I'm looking for people who are add to our culture and not destroy it. That's a really big thing, right? Like Larry mentioned a few minutes ago, it's so easy right now to be a victim and be like, oh, this is horrible. And, I can't find a job, I can't make a sale, or whatever it is. I'm not looking for those people. I'm looking for people who will fight no matter what, and realize that, there's so many other things that could be bad out there. You have to be positive and count your blessings. And I think our team is all about that. It's about teamwork, being positive, and lifting each other up. And I did not pay Megan and Larry to say anything that they said, by the way. I know you guys are all like, oh, but I didn't pay them to say that. I think they really, truly mean it. I hope you guys mean it. And we're going to continue to push through. And I'm always looking for people to add to this. So.
Well, our next question, supporting anybody in the organization, supporting your professional development. Obviously we're hearing from Larry and Megan how great Felicia has been in their development, but knowing a little bit about Max and your background and kind of how you've come up, and do you want to kind of maybe touch on your experience within the organization?
Yeah, so I would say, first of all, we've kind of all been supported, not a whole lot of layoffs and, people getting furloughed. I think we're very lucky for that. A lot of people in the sports industry are kind of going through that right now. But in terms of professional development, for me in game operations, where we're the entertainment leg, the production of the whole show as a whole, with no fans, there's really nobody for us to entertain. And so we've kind of had to find different ways to, connect digitally and to keep those fans, entertained, with inside the bubble and, on the screens that we were doing. But, before Corona, I would say in my development, it's very, they just kind of give you the tools necessary, and they say, all right, like, we need you to do this. And it's, kind of fly by the seat of your pants, and you just kind of have to figure it out. But I think I've grown a lot from it, and it's kind of cool to see where I've come, and I'm sure Megan and Larry would say the same thing. It's kind of cool to see how far we've come, and we haven't even been here that long. But in terms of development, I think it's a great place, and everybody's very supportive, and it's a good group.
For sure. Excited to actually hopefully meet you all in the office one day. Is there any other questions? I know we kind of had a few roll through. Want to make sure you all are hearing from those that have recently graduated, have broke into this space. Is there anything else you want to hear from this group?
Yeah, I think you could talk about like hard work and work ethic and everything like that, strong character, but Felicia kind of early on got us into the formula, right? And that's work ethic and positive attitude equals results. And I think results might be closing a bunch of sales, or it could be what did you learn today, and just kind of having that positive mindset to just push yourself, challenge yourself, just to get better. And I think we kind of talked about, maybe taking like a victim mentality, and instead of, being complacent, figuring out solutions and answers instead of, anything else.
Great. Megan, do you have?
I would say kind of, very similar to Larry. Being positive is, I think, the most important. Being coachable, and definitely just be willing to learn. It's a long learning process. I mean, and having no expectations too, coming in here, which is not my strong suit. I have expectations for everything. But trying to come in here and just being willing to learn and being positive, and knowing some weeks you're not going to have a sale and it sucks. It really does. But then I FaceTime Larry, and him and I talk. I FaceTime Larry like 10 times a day. And we make each other feel better, and we hype each other back up. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we didn't make a sale this week, but there's next week, and we're just going to conquer that. And just having a really strong work ethic is really important.
And I think going on that, being not only like a good leader and, being a good role model for yourself, but also for your teammate. Like, I know we all kind of like compete against each other, like who's going to have the most revenue, who's going to have the most calls, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. And, you can kind of get lost in that sometimes, but it's really important to just remember, we all have a similar goal. And if someone's having a bad day, it's important to pick each other up. And I think that's like something that I've really grown to value, especially kind of being, virtual and living at home and kind of stuff like that. But, like Megan said, everyone on the team is really close, just a quick FaceTime away. And, it's not always going to be a good day. Some days, some weeks, it's less good than bad. But, I think having each other's back, being there for when we need each other, that's been really great to kind of go through the process together, because we're all kind of dealing with similar challenges, but it's also important, to celebrate each other's successes.
So I think when Felicia hit on, having sale experience is not mandatory. It doesn't have to be, anything wild, but like I worked at Club Pilates when I was in college, which is, very different selling Pilates classes to middle-aged women than what we do now. But just having some sort of experience and just putting yourself out there, knowing that, you'll be able to learn how to sell, or you have some skills that will transfer over into this position. Really just anything you do, make sure that you're putting your all into it. And then just being able to transfer back that to this program. That's my best advice. It doesn't, you don't have to be in the sports industry. You don't have to intern in the sports industry. That's obviously helpful. And it's good experience, but it's not mandatory, and you shouldn't feel like because you don't have that experience that you can't move over into, the NBA or the NFL.
Yeah, and I remember talking earlier on when I was probably a sophomore in college. I was talking to someone who was in an inside sales program with the LA Dodgers. And they're like, well, what experience do you have? And I was like, well, nothing in sales per se, but I did this, did that. Started saying some random stuff. And they're like, you bartended? I was like, yeah, I mean, like here and there, a couple of festivals. They're like, well, you might not think about it, but if you can like have a quick 30-second, 60-second conversation, like trying to earn a tip, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, I mean, like being friendly, being personable, like that can go a long way in sales. So, I mean, kind of just thinking outside the box. And I think a lot of the, tasks that you may have, being personable, like enjoying a conversation, I think that a lot of those skills can really translate to sales. And I never thought that sales would be something I wanted to do. But, I always, like I said, I did sport management and marketing. Thought I'd go the marketing route. And then I kind of realized my senior year, sales kind of has a lot of the things I value, whether it be, talking to people, kind of marketing the team just in a different respect. So like I said, being open to things, I think you'll find that a lot of skills can translate more ways than you think.
So I'll just add too, and Max, I know you probably wanted to chime in. You want to chime in first?
No.
Okay. All right. To go on with what Larry and Megan were saying, I actually never want to do sales a day in my life. That was actually really, like I told my professor, I will never do sales. Don't even put me in it. I'm not interested. And I tried everything. I tried operations. I tried partnerships. I tried analytics. I sucked at all of them. Didn't know what I was doing. I did journalism, right? And I didn't realize that all of those different things that I was trying really, really prepared me for sales. And who's to say now I'm managing a sales team and I didn't even want to go into sales. So please stay open-minded. There is so many things that you think sales is that it's not. It's actually the core foundation of what we do. Courtney's in sales, Max is in sales. We're all in sales, right? We're all trying to sell the team. And it's really important that you guys don't oh, hey, Doug. It's really important that you don't just write sales off, right? Remember, everything that we do is sales, and it's in this role, Megan, Larry, Max, I'm sure, whether it's here or anywhere else, they're going to go off and be so prepared to do anything because of what they're doing in sales. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off that, I would say, kind of like Felicia said, stay open-minded and don't be narrow-minded about what you want to do. Definitely try different things and see what you like, see what you're good at, see what you're not good at, see where you can improve your skills. I know for me, when I was in college, I had friends who worked in the athletic department, and if they needed help running an event or, hey, we need you to work and do this, I was open to do it. And that's actually how I got to, want to work in sports, is because I just helped my friends out thinking I was doing them a favor. And then I ended up liking it and saying, oh, okay, I kind of want to do this for forever. But yeah, I would say definitely stay open-minded and, be ready to, go above and beyond of what people ask you to do. Always, say, hey, what else can I do to help?
Great. Thank you, Max, Larry, Megan, Felicia, for joining us today. Very insightful. I think overall we kind of learned, make sure we're networking, stay open-minded, hardworking, and make sure, you just can be there for any volunteer opportunity will really get you pushing forward. So really appreciate you all, and I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and we are going to facilitate our break art sessions. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Courtney, Megan, Larry, Max, Felicia. We really appreciate your insight into the current work that you're doing, and how and just these great tips on what our students can do to prepare themselves. So thank you once again.